Hello, Dynamics Con. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for voting up my session. My name is Rachel Profitt. I am a Microsoft FastTrack Solution Architect based out of the Denver, Colorado area. Let's go ahead and dive right into our session today, which is FastTrack and Success by Design for Dummies. Joining me during our Q&A session at the end, I will also be having Paul Langowski and Seth Kircher joining me. But for now, it's just me. So again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Profitt. I am a FastTrack Solution Architect. All of my contact information is here on the slide. I do encourage you to follow me on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn, check out my Facebook page or my YouTube channel at Dynamics 365 Unboxed. Like I said, Paul Langowski, who is the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations Global FastTrack Lead, is going to be joining us at the end for Q&A. So I encourage you to hang out and make sure you get all of your questions for Paul. His LinkedIn information is here on the slide if you want to connect with him. Also joining is Seth Kircher, who is the Dynamics 365 Engagement Principal FastTrack Solution Architect Manager, leading our Americas team at Microsoft. And his LinkedIn information is here on the slide as well. So I've got the dream team here ready to answer all of your questions. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at our agenda today. I want to walk through a number and hopefully answer some pretty common questions about FastTrack, Success by Design, and the implementation guide. So I'm going to be talking through what is FastTrack and who can use it. I'm also going to differentiate between what's FastTrack versus our Success by Design framework, which many of you have heard of, and talk about who can use that. We're also going to dive into the implementation guide and how you can use that implementation guide to implement Success by Design framework, just like the FastTrack program does for our customers. So with that, let's just go ahead and dive right into what is FastTrack. This might be that first burning question that you have on your mind, and you might be wondering, well, what exactly is it? So I've borrowed this quote with permission from David, and I think it's a great way to describe FastTrack for Dynamics 365. FastTrack has been around for a while now, serving customers with all the various different cloud solutions that we offer. In its most basic definition, it's simply a customer success program that is designed to help ensure success for customers that are implementing Dynamics 365. But this definition may leave you still wondering, what exactly is FastTrack for Dynamics 365? So here on the slide, I have gone to David, and I don't want to mispronounce his last name, so I'm just going to stick with David G. Blog, and borrowed his definition, which I think really helps clear things up. David is one of our FastTrack recognized solution architects, in case you were wondering. So what David says in his blog is, Success by Design is not a project management methodology like Agile or SureStep, and does not replace the one that you're already using. And that's what I like about it. It's a set of guidelines in a toolbox that helps you ask the right questions at the right time during your Dynamics 365 implementation. And it lets you profit from good practices from thousands of FastTrack projects. And to quote David on his blog, he also says, Success by Design is the best toolbox I have ever had throughout my entire career. So you might be wondering, how do we do this? So I've pulled together the highlights of the way I like to describe or explain how we execute on the promise of FastTrack. All projects start with the solution blueprint review. This is a process where we get a baseline, so to speak, on what are your plans across all aspects of your project. There may be aspects that are not very detailed at the beginning of your project, but the sooner we engage and get the baseline, the more likely we are to identify risks early on and provide proactive guidance. Then, based on project-specific needs, your solution architect will work with you to follow up with implementation deep dive workshops. The workshops will be timed along with your project plan, and the best time to complete the workshops will be dependent on your specific plan. As more details are worked out about the specifics of various aspects of your project is when we conduct these different workshops. Each workshop comes with a findings and recommendations document. These documents will outline what we heard along with our observations about what we heard. We categorize all the findings into assertions, risks, or issues. The findings and recommendations are based on documents that are in our knowledge base that the entire FastTrack team has developed over several of years and thousands of deployments. Now, hopefully you've got a good baseline of what FastTrack is. And if you're still confused, be sure to put those questions in and we'll get to them at the end in our Q&A session. Now, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about who can use FastTrack. In order to go through the nomination process for the FastTrack program, you must have or be a gold or silver certified Microsoft partner with competencies in your respective products that you are selling and implementing. Additionally, for a partner to gain access to our new portal and to nominate a customer, the partner must complete our Success by Design training and assessment. The FastTrack program is available to customers with a qualifying investment of any Dynamics 365 product, including Dynamics 365 Sales, Customer Service, Field Service, Marketing, Finance, Supply Chain Management, Project Operations, Commerce, Human Resources, and Power Apps Portals projects. The engagement model of the FastTrack program will differ slightly based on the investment level from the customer. This brings us to the point of participants. The FastTrack program requires participation from the customer, partner, and Microsoft. I like to think of it as a partnership between all three parties, where the common goal is to get the customer live on their solution with the least amount of risk as possible and with as much value from the solution as possible. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but hopefully helpful. The number of people in each organization that participate in the program will vary from project to project, but selecting the right resources is critical to get the most out of the engagement. From the customer, we always expect that you bring your project manager to all meetings. Then each meeting or workshop will identify additional participants that are appropriate based on the content of that workshop. For example, if you have a data migration lead, and you should if you don't, you will likely want that person for the data migration portion of the solution blueprint review and the data migration implementation workshop. Likewise, if you're doing a finance implementation workshop, you'll likely want to include your finance consultants. On the partner side of things, we require both the project manager and the assigned partner solution architect be present for all meetings. Again, depending on the nature of a specific meeting, it may make sense to bring in additional people. For example, if you have a data migration lead, you'll want to bring them. Likewise, if you have a finance implementation workshop, you'll want your finance consultant. On the Microsoft side of things, you'll have a FastTrack solution architect assigned. The roles and responsibility of your architect vary slightly depending on your investment level. For example, customers spending $300,000 or more have a dedicated architect who schedules all workshops, gathers the findings, and produces the documents with our recommendations throughout the entire project. For customers in the 100,000 to 300,000 range, the workshops are primarily run by the partner-assigned solution architect, and then reviewed by the Microsoft solution architect, who will complete and provide the documents with our recommendations. For customers under the 100,000 investment level, there are a variety of self-service tools available that you can leverage throughout your implementation, and Microsoft reviews your go live readiness assessment just before you go live. The outcomes of FastTrack, our program for Dynamics 365, are all centered around the Success by Design framework. Qualified partners can use tools in our portal to document progress and research recommendations in our knowledge base. Once recommendations are made and documented, it is the responsibility of the customer and partner to review and remediate any issues that are noted in those findings documents. Keeping in mind that some issues may be go-live blocking and require remediation before a production environment will be provisioned with finance and operations implementations, for example. It's also worth noting that there's also a program available for other Power Platform products such as Power Apps and Power Automate that are provided by the Power Cat team. The eligibility requirements and program details are different, and you can learn more on the Power Platform YouTube channel in the Power Cat Live playlist, which I've included a link to here in this slide. Hopefully you now have a good idea of who can use FastTrack. Now the next burning question you might have is, okay, so what is this Success by Design thing? So in this section, we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. Another way to think of the Success by Design framework or process is that your FastTrack solution architect will follow to guide you through the FastTrack program. It's grounded in the fundamentals of a good solution architecture and design, product capabilities, and proven approaches to business process transformation and implementation. And it's designed around three core principles of early detection, proactive guidance, and predictable success. Our goal is to help you maximize your return on investment, deploy your solution faster, and get higher adoption rates. Our analysis of data from past projects shows that the monthly active user, or MAU, of FastTrack tenants versus non-FastTrack tenants for implementations that have 500 seats or more see 2.2 times higher usage of Dynamics 365. So I want to talk a little bit about a few things that FastTrack and Success by Design are not. So it's important to note that FastTrack and Success by Design framework go hand in hand. But the things that are not included in this are, first, an implementation methodology. Success by Design is absolutely not an implementation methodology. The framework and best practices are designed to work with your methodology, whether that be agile, waterfall, or some hybrid approach. And the recommendations are designed to align with your methodology. However, by cross-checking your methodology and deliverables with the best practices and documentation that you need for your solution architect to review, you can streamline and simplify the process to get the final recommendations. The FastTrack program and Success by Design framework are not intended to help you create your solution architecture. It's expected that customers work with their partners to define their solution architecture and document the details in a way that they can be shared with FastTrack solution architects to review and provide feedback and recommendations. Additionally, your FastTrack solution architect is not intended to be used to help provide training on product features or perform code reviews. Your architect may, however, be able to point you to resources that you can leverage for additional training and education. The FastTrack program and Success by Design framework are not designed to do a gap analysis or comparison of ISV solutions. We recommend that you work with your partner and the various ISV solution providers to determine which ISV solutions are best for your business process requirements. And lastly, it's important to understand that FastTrack is not engineering or support resource and cannot provide you with hot fixes or new product features. While they may work with support and product teams to help drive feedback, there is never a guarantee of a new product feature or hot fixes from the FastTrack team. When you have issues with the solution, it's still important to work with your partner and to open Microsoft support tickets and follow the support process as normal. Hopefully, now you have a good understanding of who can use success or what Success by Design is, rather. If you're still confused about it, feel free to put those questions in the Q&A panel and we'll get to them at the end of the session. Now I want to switch gears to talk about who can use the Success by Design framework. Any customer who is eligible for FastTrack will have access to the Success by Design framework after they are nominated and go through the onboarding process. In order to receive FastTrack benefits, you will be required to complete the solution blueprint review process. Depending on the scope and size of your project, this process may be 4 to 12 hours with your assigned solution architect. And that's whether your architect is a Microsoft FastTrack solution architect or appointed by your partner. Additional time is typically required by the customer and partner to gather and document the information that's required to run the various workshops. In order for a partner to nominate a customer and receive access to our new portal, you will need to complete our Success by Design training and complete an assessment validating your understanding of the framework. We are working towards enabling a much larger set of self-service tools for all customers to use in our portal. For customers who do not qualify for the FastTrack program, these self-service tools are your primary mechanism to access Success by Design. Success by Design training is a set of self-paced learning courses that anyone can take online at the Microsoft Learn site. While the Learn site offers a variety of training, including training on how to use and implement Microsoft Dynamics 365, it is important to note that Success by Design training is not a course on how to implement the product, rather an overview of how FastTrack engages in a project. Details about each step or phase of the Success by Design framework and how to use the Success by Design framework. At the completion of the self-paced training, a user can take the assessment to check their knowledge against the training content. We require at least one person at the partner organization to be certified in the Success by Design framework and to pass the assessment in order to receive access to the partner portal. This also provides you the ability to nominate your customers for the FastTrack program. This is in addition to the silver or gold certified partner competency for the appropriate Dynamics 365 products. However, I would strongly recommend that you have project managers and solution architects on the projects that you are nominating to be trained on the FastTrack program and the Success by Design framework, as these are two of the key resources that will interact with the FastTrack solution architect from Microsoft. You may want to also consider having all of your consultants who will contribute to the artifacts throughout the project for Success by Design framework to complete the training. For example, you may want to have your integration and data migration leads complete the training, as they will likely need to contribute to the details of that solution blueprint review and the implementation deep dive workshops. In the Docs article called Learning Resources, there are a variety of links where you can deep dive into the Success by Design learning and get familiar with the tools we have available to learn about FastTrack. This includes the Learn content, the Tech Talks, and the community site resources. I've included a link to that page here on the slide. If you've still got questions about Success by Design, be sure to get those entered in to the Q&A panel so that we can answer them at the end. Now I want to switch gears a little bit to talk about our implementation guide. You might be wondering, what exactly is this implementation guide thing? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can think of the Implementation Guide Success by Design book as your handbook for implementing Dynamics 365 projects. It's not a technical how-to book about Dynamics 365, but rather a set of recommendations and best practices, all centered around successful projects. Much of the content is centered around program governance documentation and selecting the best method approach for your project and business needs. For customers with an investment level lower than $100,000, or for any customer or partner wanting to learn more about the basic principles of a well-run project, this book offers a ton of advice and guidance around the fundamentals of running a successful Dynamics 365 project. From the scope setting and project approach, all the way to the go live and beyond. You will find many of our recommended practices with real-life examples and case studies throughout the book. You can download this 600-plus page behemoth at aka.ms/D365 implementation guide. We're working on a new page in our Dynamics community site where you will soon be able to read and interact with the book as well. So keep an eye out for announcements about that new page. Again, if you've got questions about that implementation guide, be sure to get those into the Q&A panel so we can answer those at the end of our session. Now I want to switch gears and talk about how you should use the implementation guide. You may or may not have noticed, as I mentioned a minute ago, that book is over 600 pages long. And it's likely that you can't or won't sit down and read this book front to back and get all the benefits from the recommendations. So I've pulled together my quick tips for how to use this book. Depending on your skill set and familiarity with FastTrack and the Success by Design framework, this slide is going to walk you through the steps to get started with the book if you're at the beginning of your learning journey. First, I would recommend that you read the strategy section prior to drafting and signing your SOW. You may even want to throw in Chapter 7 before you write your SOW as well. When you are ready to start your FastTrack engagement, I would recommend that you complete the Initiate section of the book. The meat of the book, so to speak, is in the Implement section. I would recommend that you refer to these sections in alignment with your project plan and dependent on your role in the project. For example, if you are the data migration lead, you should probably read up on this topic prior to putting your details and strategy into place. If you are the PM, though, you might want to align this chapter with the key data migration activities prior to your data migration implementation workshop. Next, I would recommend that you read the Prepare and Operations sections about 2 to 3 months prior to the go live so that you have sufficient time to think about and plan for the various activities that will happen leading up to and after your go live. Lastly, each module contains a checklist at the end of the module with the things that you'll need to remember about that particular process. You can use these checklists and refer back to them throughout your project to ensure that you're following all of the recommended projects. Now, if you are a more seasoned FastTrack consultant or Dynamics 365 consultant and you've already been in a FastTrack engagement before, the way you consume this book might be a little bit different. So these recommendations are in place for those people that are a little bit further along in their learning journey in terms of FastTrack and the Success by Design process. I recommend that you start with the Success by Design overview to ensure that you have a good understanding of the framework. Then you'll want to focus in on the Initiate section of the book. I strongly recommend this because in my experience, many of the issues that we find in the Implement phase stem from problems in the Initiate phase. I cannot emphasize the importance of a process-focused solution or strong project governance enough. Although these both might seem simple, I see so many issues downstream that come from poor planning and documentation in the Initiate phase around project governance and the business processes that are planned and in scope. Next, I challenge you to really analyze your strengths and weaknesses to decide where to focus your efforts next. For example, if you have been a data migration lead for years and have the process down pat, but maybe are less experienced in integration strategy, focus your efforts on your weakest areas first. You'll want to brush up on the prepare and operation sections 2 to 3 months prior to your go live. Each module, again, contains a checklist, and I strongly recommend even the experienced consultant to use these checklists at the end of each module to refer back to those things to remember and to check those items off with each one of your projects, and to make sure that you're following all of those recommended practices that we have put out there for you in each topic area. So now what I'm going to do is switch over and do a quick demonstration for you all of our new partner portal that gives you access to the FastTrack resources and knowledge base. So I'm here in the FastTrack for Dynamics 365 implementation portal. When you first log into the portal, you're going to land on the projects page. If you have more than one project and you click on the projects link, you'll see the list of all of those projects here. You can open one of those projects by clicking on the link for the name of that particular project. When you're inside of the project, you'll see a dashboard that allows you to see the basic status of what's going on. So here you can see the status is green. We've currently got 25 active risks and 25 active issues. This project is currently in the prepare phase, which means that we're about ready to go live. And so our next step in the process is to conduct our go live readiness assessment. You can also see the status among the success measures. I've got 1 risk, 3 assertions, and 1 issue. And down on the bottom half of the page, you can see the details about this particular project. You have the ability to update and select different products that are a part of this particular product. So let's say, for example, if we're also implementing human resources, I can simply mark those checkboxes. You can also see that estimated and actual go-live date and the estimated number of go-live users. You'll be able to update this information, and we strongly recommend that you keep it up to date. In the center column, you can see the overall engagement status. So if you need to change the project status to either yellow or red, you can simply click on the drop-down and change that status. The executive summary provides an overview of the project, what you're implementing, and so on, and the current status description is tended to be used to keep up to date about what's going on with a particular project. The right-hand side shows the timeline. You can very quickly and easily add a note about what's going on, including attaching files that your solution architect will be able to review. When you're done, you simply click Add Note. Now, let's switch over to the Events and Reviews tab and take a look at how to execute a review. On the top half of the page, you'll be able to see the events. Events allow you to track the details about each of your different reviews and activities that are happening in your particular project. The event tracks the details such as the start and end date and the participants of that particular event, while the review is where you're going to enter in all the details. Let's go ahead and create a new review. To create a new review, you'll simply click the New Review button, which will open up a dialog. You'll need to give the review a name. For this example, I'm going to call this the Go Live Readiness Assessment. You can optionally select the event that this is going to be related to, which again is tracking the details of the who and when this particular review is happening. I'm going to go ahead and use the search icon to select the review that I want to do. I'm going to select the Finance and Operations app Go Live Readiness Review and then click Select. When I'm ready, I'll click Save. This will create a new record on the lower portion of the screen. When you're ready, you can go ahead and launch that review by clicking on the hyperlink of that particular name. This will open up a new page where you can see the details about that particular review. The Instructions tab has the overview of what you're supposed to do, your prerequisites, and there's also the step-by-step guide on how to process this particular review in the portal. You'll notice a yellow banner at the top of the page as soon as you create this review. You can see right now the review is being prepared, and it asks that you do not refresh the page, and you'll be notified once it's ready. It may take a few minutes to generate the review where you can start to enter in your criteria. Since this process may take a few minutes, I'm going to go back to the Events and Reviews page. You can use the breadcrumb bar at the top of the page to easily navigate back to different pages that you have been on previously. So I'm going to click on Events and Reviews, which will take me back to the page where I created this review. I'm going to go ahead and open up the SBR test, which has already been populated. And I'll show you how to navigate and enter in the details. In the Solution Blueprint Review, you can see that there are a variety of topics, items, and questions. Each review that you complete will have a similar layout, however, the topics, items, and questions will be slightly different. Starting with the program strategy, you can see that my cursor is on goals and objectives, and I'm on the first question here. What are the specific objectives of the project and how will they be measured? Here on the right-hand side of the screen, I can enter in the objectives. If you want to format your text, you can use the rich text editor at the top of the screen to format the text into bullets, numbered lists. You can create links or attachments as well. You can use the Next button in the upper left-hand corner in order to move to the next question, or you can simply click on that question. When you reach the end of a particular review item and click Next, the system will automatically move you to the next item. When you're at the very last question in the very last item and you use the Next button, you can see that the system will automatically move you to the next topic, where you can see a new list of items and questions. As you progress through your review, you can use the little progress icons on each tile as a visual indication of your progress. You can see that 23 of 38 questions have been answered on program strategy, and so far 0 of 16 questions have been answered for test strategy. You can see that a green icon will appear for that question. However, it is not marked as completed until you select a scenario and recommendation. For each question, you can open up the Scenario and Recommendations pane. When you select to show the Scenarios and Recommendations pane, the system will hide the review topics and items. You can still use the Next button to navigate through the options. For each question, you'll need to select the scenario that applies. So in this case, I'm going to select this middle option, which is the issue. On the right-hand side, I can see the standard recommendation, and you have the ability to make updates to this recommendation or add some additional details if needed. When you click the next button, it will move to the next question. You can enter in your finding and select your scenario and see the recommendation. To close the scenario and recommendations, you'll simply click the Hide Scenario and Recommendations button, which will return you to the previous screen. You can now see that the test strategy is being updated with a quantity of questions that have been completed. This is also updated at the item level, where you can see exactly how many questions within that item have been answered. You also have the ability to add a question. So if there was something that was not included in the standard review that you discussed and want to review with your solution architect, you can simply do this by clicking on Add Question. Your new question will now show up at the bottom of your list. You can now enter in the findings for your question and open up the Scenarios and Recommendations pane. Because this is a new question, there aren't any scenarios, so you can easily add your own scenario. And for existing questions, if you have a scenario that does not fit into one of the standard scenarios, you can add your own scenario by clicking Add Scenario, typing in the details, indicating if it's a risk, issue, or assertion. You'll need to also select a success measure. This is the area of the system or the implementation project that the topic applies to. So for this example, because this is related to testing, I would select the testing success measure. You can also indicate whether or not this is a go live blocker. After you type in the details, you can click Save and Close. After your scenario is added, it will appear in the bottom of the scenarios pane. When you're finished with a particular review, you'll need to submit that review to your solution architect. So when you're ready, you'll click the Submit for Review button at the bottom. It will pop up a dialog and ask you if you're sure you want to submit, and when you're ready, you simply click Yes. For this example, we're going to simply go back to the home page, and I want to quickly show you a few other things that you can use the portal for. You can also use the knowledge articles on the left-hand side to search our knowledge base. You can filter the knowledge base by using the filters at the top to filter on specific products, specific reviews, specific review topics, or specific review items. After you've entered in the criteria, simply click Filter. You can search the articles by typing in criteria into the search, and to open up the details of one of the articles, you can simply click on the details. And at the bottom, you can see the details about the scenario. To drill into the additional details about the scenario, you can simply click on that scenario and see the full recommendation that's a part of that particular knowledge article. When you're finished, you can simply click Close. For more help about how to use the partner portal, you can simply click on the Help page on the left-hand side. This will open up a page where you can see all of the most popular help articles, and you can search the FAQs by using the search pane at the top. Thanks for watching today's demonstration of how to use the new FastTrack for Dynamics 365 implementation portal. I'll see you over in the Q&A. Hi everyone. We had some fantastic questions coming through, so we're going to go ahead and dive right into those questions. Kind of going back to the beginning, one of our first questions is kind of a comment about the session being, or about FastTrack being an implementation methodology. And I wanted to give this one to Seth to talk about why FastTrack is not an implementation methodology.
Yeah, when we set out to build Success by Design as a framework, the the idea really behind it was that FastTrack and the solution architect attached to your project wasn't going to impose or implicate the approach that partners would take in implementing Dynamics 365. Rather, we wanted a framework that would work with any methodology. So we saw in the Q&A some reference to SureStep. This is not SureStep 3.0. That is a methodology that Microsoft Consulting Services or now Industry Solutions leverages in their implementations, and we work with it too. But the idea is that Success by Design, assesses both project as well as technical risk, and therefore assists project teams in a manner that helps to ensure a roadmap aligned, durable solution. We want to address any issues or risks that we see, hopefully before the glue dries, and so we work, ultimately though, alongside your methodology, and ideally from project kickoff all the way through to go live.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth. So we had a couple of different questions come in about the eligibility rules. So I want to hand it over to Paul to talk a little bit more and answer some questions about when does eligibility start for FastTrack.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. That's a great question. So first of all, we should probably think about the goal of our program is to have FastTrack and Success by Design be a common approach, regardless of who's leading it, who's driving the engagement. So whether it's a partner-led, which starts at that 100K and above level engagement, or whether it's a Microsoft-led engagement, which starts at about 300K, it starts at 300K, we look to have the same types of workshops, the same types of evaluation happening on every program that's out there. The key difference is as we get into our larger, more complex projects, we'll see additional deeper engagement from Microsoft to support the partner who's going to be executing that process for all of their customers.
And so, Paul, that investment level, can you just clarify, how is that $100,000 or $300,000 evaluated? Is that consulting spend, licensing spend? How is that determined?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So that's actually the license revenue that comes to Microsoft.
Great.
And I'll just to further clarify, so that's when you're looking at the Dynamics 365 FastTrack program, that's all Dynamics revenue for all Dynamics products, all up. So it's a combined number.
Fantastic. Now, Joel asked, does this help me upgrade from Exapted 2.5? And I jokingly answered, Joel, if you're using Exapted 2.5, you should unplug your computer and go home. But in all seriousness, you can absolutely use the FastTrack program to help you upgrade from Exapted 2.5, but that's not the only thing. You can use FastTrack with any project that you're using to implement Dynamics 365, whether you're coming from a legacy system that's homegrown, you're coming off of SAP or Oracle or some other unheard of ERP system, that includes Exapted 2.5.
It's probably worth one clarification, Rachel. Exapted 2.5 to Dynamics 365 would be a bit of a migration. There's been a few things since then, so that would be a heck of an upgrade script.
Yes, it would be. I would probably describe it as more of a re-implementation than an upgrade.
Somewhere in there.
Yep. The only thing I would chime in there as well is that although the question was germane to our ERP centered solutions, we have the same capability on the customer engagement side to help customers move from their on-premise workloads, whether it's sales, marketing, customer service, et cetera, to Dynamics 365 to the cloud. So didn't want to leave us out.
Fantastic. We've had a couple of questions come in about the portal. So someone asked, are the self-service tools available now, or will they be available in the near future?
Yeah, so I can actually take that. So from a self-service perspective, we've had the partner tools available for a while, and the self-service tools, so tools that will start to now extend this out to allow customers to interact as well, are actually currently in pilot. So we're excited to see that continue to expand out and just increase the number of people that can interact with Success by Design.
Great question. We also had another question come in. Why are FastTrack recognized solution architects not certified? It should be mandatory to be certified if you also are a FastTrack recognized solution architect.
I can take this one initially, Paul, and have you chime in. I think we were pretty intentional with the creation of the FTRSA program, that we wanted it really to be based on experience, which includes things like having participated in more than one project where FastTrack had previously been attached. So this notion of certification, while there are numerous opportunities from a product perspective to get certified, in some ways you could look at the FTRSA program as more of a we've baselined a set of criteria that say you must have this many projects under your belt where FastTrack was engaged. You have to have enrolled in and taken the partner architect bootcamp that we deliver. What else am I missing, Paul?
There's the number of engagements. There's attendance of the boot camp. I believe that you need to be certified, or you need to have passed the knowledge check for success by design. But that's, like you said, right? It's not so much about the certification, which is an important thing to be certified. It's important to know what the right thing to do is. But a big part of FastTrack recognized solution architects is having that experience, or having seen architects that have not only known what to do, but have chosen to do the right things, right? And have taken a quality approach and a considered, measured approach to making their customers successful.
Thanks so much for that. So the next question is, if you have a pilot project and don't yet know the go live date, is FastTrack application still advised?
Yeah, as I said a little bit earlier, as we were talking through this Q&A, our FastTrack's goal is to get engaged at the project kickoff. Ideally, we're not being pulled in at the point where the project team finally has clarity on exactly when the go live date is, which could be, as close to we're finished with build, now we're moving into testing. We want to be engaged before the glue dries, and that would mean if you don't have super clarity on every last bit of your project plan as you look at go live and when you're planning out to roll out to a larger group of users, that's fine. We would rather be engaged early.
Yeah, I think that's well said. When you look at our solution blueprint review, which is the opening event in a FastTrack engagement, that's where we go over at somewhat of a high level the overall engagement plan and the conceptual design. And I would argue that if you have a project plan, you've got a budget, and you've started to engage a team, you must have some conceptual design for the solution. So we want to take a look at that and look for the big holes. Right? And then as things deepen out over time, we'll continue to fill in and look at the details.
We had a couple of questions come in about the portal. So how do we access the portal? Who has access to the portal? Is the portal available already? How do we get to the portal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have the URL handy on me, if that's what we're looking for. I don't know if we have a chance to come back and update the group, or if that's something that we can put in the final slides if it's not there. But essentially, your access to the portal is turned on as a partner at the point that you have had a customer that's been nominated and accepted into the FastTrack program. At that point, they're lit up for access via the portal, and you can get in, you can see them and interact with their information.
Fantastic. That's all the time we have for questions today. We do have a couple that weren't answered. We'll try to make sure that we get these out on our new FastTrack community site, along with a copy of the slides. I know someone asked for that. Thank you, everyone, for joining and for voting up this session. We'll make sure that you get these resources and access to the recording. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Rachel.